Okay, so for this blog I'm going to do something that may sound a bit boring, but I think it's really important. If you're playing the role of the producer like we are here, just if you get a track to mix or a session to mix, you're not always present when the track's recorded or when the track's set up. So it often comes to you in a variety of different forms, and you don't know who set it up and how they like to set it up. So I just have sort of basic things I like to do to any session that I bring in, just to make it clear for me and easy for me to work with. So the first thing I do is rename tracks. This drives me crazy, the amount of things that people call tracks. So we'll just click on here, like this for example, bass drum. I guarantee there'll be, yeah, we've got two other bass tracks here. So if I see bass, I'm not instantly thinking drum kit. So I like to call this kick. Go on to next, and snare. And then this, like IT toms. I don't know what that means, so I'm just assuming it's toms. And then overhead's just simply OH. And then it carries on just so, bass. I always like to use capitals here as well, because it's not so bad in this session, but when you have, say, 50 or 60 tracks, it's much easier to read capitals and short words than it is to read lowercase letters and things like this, like lead vocals. Like that really doesn't fit, so I'll just hit Vox, because we've only got one vocal in here. And then pianos live, we don't need that, so we can go keys, and then master. Okay, so that's much easier and much clearer to see what I've got and much easier to get around. So the next thing I like to do is just arrange my track into some sort of group. So I've already kind of done it with this one actually. So you can see I always have my kit on the left. It's the first thing I always do with a mix, the kit and bass. So I always have them first. So I'll have kit here, and I've got bass, and then I'll have generally other music, so sax and keys in this case, or I'd have guitars or any other sort of thing, musical thing in there, and then I'll have vocals last. I always like to put vocals right in the very end just because I know where they are and I can get to them easily. Sometimes what I do with bigger sessions, say I've the main instrument, like in this track here, it's keys. If that's more than one track, if there's more parts to it or whatever, I quite often put that in the center of the tracks, just because I know where it's going to be and I'm going to be going back to that quite often. So I just like to know where it's going to be. Okay, so next from here I would be looking to group these tracks, just as to keep them all together, really, just so one track doesn't get lost when I'm moving tracks about or whatever. So if you just hit Command G, it opens up your group menu. So I'll just show you one, for example. So if I'm going to group the kit together, I'll call them drums, again in capitals, just so it's easy to see. Take the vocals out, and I'll add the kick, snare, and toms, and overheads. Okay, so we click on that. So what this means now is that these are all grouped together. So when this is highlighted here, whatever you do to the kick will also happen to the snare. So if you move the faders, then they all move in time. And obviously you can ungroup to do individual edits or whatever, but it's just good to start with, just to have them all in groups. That's the next thing I would do. Just to make it even clearer for myself, I quite often change the colours of the tracks as well. Because if you imagine I've got 50 tracks here and they're all in this blue colour, I don't know what's what. So if you just double click on the colour there, I can change that to red, for example, and make all my kit red, and then make all my bass yellow, and make all my sax whatever. So you can change it about, and it just makes it all stand out much easier for you. Then you're looking for just a colour rather than a name. Okay, the next thing that I always make sure I do when I'm adding tracks, say for example, I'm going to add a drum sub to send all my drums to, and maybe a drum reverb. So we'll just set up a couple of new tracks here, stereo, aux input, and make two of them. I always like to have them with the tracks that they're affecting. So any aux tracks, I like to have them with the tracks they're affecting. I've seen a lot of people who put all their aux tracks to the end of the session like that. So these, I'll just rename these just so you know. So we'll call this kit sub, and the next one kit verb. So I know that's where all my kit's been sent to, and I can edit the levels or whatever, and this is going to be the reverb for my kit. So okay, they're named, but if they're in a massive session again, and my drum kit's over here, and I've got to scroll 2 pages to the right just to get to my aux tracks, it's just annoying. So make sure that all my aux tracks are with the tracks that they're affecting. Just carrying on with this sort of aux track thing, any sends I always have to name. So say I'm sending a bus to, I'm busing these this kick to the kit verb or whatever. Go to bus, and as you can see here, I've already named some things that I use quite often. So say kit, that would normally go to my kit sub. So I'll just do this for you. I'll set that up. Because if this isn't named kit, if I was to go away from the session and come back even just a week later or something like that, I wouldn't know what the send was if it was just, for example, bus 9. I have no idea where that goes. And when you're in a big session, it gets really complicated. It's really difficult to work out where things are going, and if there's a problem, it's hard to work out what's causing it. It's usually sends that say just bus 9 or whatever. So you just make this as clear as possible. All you need to do is right click on these and rename them that way. There's just a thing that says rename, or you can do it also through the setup window. So that's just a few things I like to do. Oh, finally, actually, just in here you can add notes to each of the tracks. So I've just listened to this track and I heard that the snare hasn't been gated at all, and it picks up a lot of the piano because it was recorded live. So I'll just add in just a few little things, or if I have an idea for it but I'm working on something else, say the overheads I want more high end, and I've got these things here just as a reference point, and then once obviously I've done them, I can get rid of them. Okay, so that's just a few things that I like to do to my sessions just in order to make them a bit easier to work with. I think if you have your own setup, then you're going to be much more effective as soon as you get the mix rather than having to try and work out what other people have done halfway through your mix or whatever.